So this morning I'm going to wire weed where Hoop House 6 used to be, but the beds that are formerly known as Hoop House 6. And we'll start it all off with a real simple thing. As I've always said, nothing on a farm is trash. It just needs to be found out what it's going to be used for next. And what a nice jacket sweatshirt holder, huh? Okay, so what's going on in here? Lots and lots and lots of weeds. And if you have ever had a garden that has vegetables in it, you will notice that the weeds that come will always be the ones that look the most similar to the plant you're trying to grow. And so in this bed, we are growing arugula. The arugula, actually I was gonna say it's actually this stuff right here, but there is a good sample of it right here. So there's the arugula. And as you notice, this stuff right here, even better when you start to pull back a little bit, find the arugula in that group. It looks like it's mainly weeds, but there is arugula down in there. So the Spurgia has just done a heck of a job, and the mallow, of taking over this bed. And the arugula is probably going to be the worst. You can see that there are tons of weeds in here as well. Now this was wire weeded last Monday, so it's been only 1 week, and this is how much growth we have had in 1 week worth of not weeding it. Just absolutely amazing. And I actually went through and cleaned out some of the one of these beds, but you can't even tell which one it was. I think it might have been this section of the greens, but it's just brutal. So we'll see how long it takes me to do this. To do is, because this was tedious and was taking forever, is I walked the rows after that, which is what the wire weeder is for. Now you can see that I left behind this stuff here. I'm going to come back to it now and start working, but I thought, okay, let's just try getting the middle row parts out of the way, because those are fast. You can just walk right through them. And now I can come back and I can hit all these spots where there are weeds, but I've already gotten rid of quite a few of them. By just walking that. And so now I can start concentrating on just the plants and see what happens there. See how close these weeds get to the actual plant that we want to grow. I mean, they are right in there. The wire weeder can get them. It's hard to get the mallow sometimes. The wire weeder can get in there and get them for the most part, but this takes a long, long time. Let's see if we can come back a little bit farther where I've been. And you can see that it just really likes growing right up against the bull's blood and underneath the Swiss chard like that. And then there's just a lot of brand new ones right here. Little tiny guy right there. And this is not even close to what's hidden beneath the ground right here. And so the whole thing has to be attacked. Took me 30 minutes to do it. What I ended up doing was, after I walked with the wire weeder in the center part, I decided I was going to try the single edge hoe and go through here, because the weeds were a little bit bigger, and I thought, okay, I could be a little bit more aggressive, and because of its longness away from the neck, I can get up and under plants. So it worked pretty good. I went pretty fast. It was a little bit of a strain on my right arm, up right in the elbow where it comes up against it. Let's walk it and let's see how we did. See what kind of carnage we got, how many I missed and stuff like that. So here's, right off the bat, here's a missed one. So there's a defect. It's not bad. Now there are some spots where I would have stopped before and like, I don't want to do that. But then what am I telling my teammate? I'm telling them that they're not important enough to me to take the little extra time, energy, and effort, because I'm kind of getting tired, to weed this whole thing. But then when you go back and you think about them, well, they're going to come in here and they're going to harvest. How tired do you think they're going to get when they've started all the way down at that end and they're straddling this bed and they're coming all the way through here, and now they got to start weeding and picking through weeds because I didn't care enough to think of them, because I was tired. And since I figured, oh, I'm not going to be harvesting, what does it matter? Well, it does matter, because you're telling your teammate that they're important by doing this. As a manager, what are you telling a farmhand? If you don't do a very good job, then when it's their turn to do the weeding and stuff like that. They're gonna be like, oh, well, I can miss this weed in here and stuff because they missed it also, the manager missed it. So what I'm seeing though is like right in here is stuff that hit itself or got pushed aside and didn't come out. So there's still pieces that are missed. So I'm gonna have to come back in here and do another walkthrough and see what all I didn't get. Now let's talk about other defects. The other defect is when I get a little too aggressive or go too fast. See, here's another weed that just blends in nicely as you're working quickly, right? Let's see. You're not one of them. Somewhere in here, I pulled out a kale, and I also pulled out a Swiss chard. So now those won't grow, so there's another defect. The whole time, remember that this is all wasted motion because none of this is adding value to the final product or to the customer. It's cleaning out the weeds because they don't want them because that's waste, but there's no added value here. And it's gonna take longer. Normally it takes me about 10 minutes to do a bed like this. It took me 30 minutes to do a bed like this because the weeds had gotten so big. Now this was one of the easiest beds because the spacing is kind of wide. I've got a couple of different colored plants with the bull's blood, and even the Russian kale has Russian stems, or has red stems to it. So it's a little bit easier to see. But even with that, see, I worked from this side. Now I'm gonna have to come back and look at it from this side, because see, here's a whole nother set of weeds down here that need to get dealt with. So this is one of the easier beds. This bed is gonna be a little bit more difficult because that watercress is gonna look like some of the weeds. There's a weed right there, but that's watercress right there. The lettuce is gonna be really tough because it grows so close together and it's gotten so big, and now the weeds over here have grown so much that they've gotten too big to just get the wire weeder down in there and just drag. But I'm gonna try doing that because then we only have the stems sticking out up above the plants, and that should push aside nicely. Something like the arugula is gonna be a major pain, a huge, huge pain. So may have to come back here and actually do this when the arugula is bigger and maybe the weeds aren't going to be as big, or the weeds will be taller and you can kind of get some of the bigger ones out of there. The radishes we don't worry too much about because we're just going to be pulling from those, so we don't really worry about those. Same with that one over there. So I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows to do, and it's none of it is going to add value to our product. Okie dokie, I went back through it, came back through this way with it from this side, and did all the cleaning out and everything. There was a lot in with the red Russian kale. So it took me another 15 minutes to do that. This bed, while not perfect, we all know there's still weeds in there, defects, and it's a lot better than it was. Now the question is, if we come back to it tomorrow or maybe the next day, is that something that we can get through it faster? Can we get to that 10-minute mark and get it cleaned out and get those little white fibers of weeds? Like I can see some weeds right in there that I'm gonna have to get before I stop because it's gonna drive me nuts. So I will try going on to the next one and see what happens.